The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild gave me 6 months of absolute bliss. It's a game that is rewarding once you beat it because it gives you such a sense of accomplishment. I did the final boss twice and was left satisfied both times. I'm someone who came in with an extreme bias towards Zelda after playing Ocarina of Time and absolutely hating it. Realistically, I thought I'm not going to like this video game, but deep down something was telling me this is going to be one of the most exciting games I'll ever play, and it was. Ocarina of Time, my issues with it is that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing and needed a guide to literally play like 90% of the game. It was an awful experience. I can tell it's a game that probably gets better the more you play it, but I'm very much a first playthrough kind of guy. I rarely replay games, not unless it's been ages. Breath of the Wild I feel takes aspects of Zelda style gameplay and mixes it with ideas taken from games of recent times. You can tell the developers really liked Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed, and Minecraft. It has the battle system of a Souls game like Heavy. I picked up parrying and dodging easy in this game. The world is one huge sandbox, just like Minecraft, that doesn't get boring and always feels alive. And you gotta climb up towers to uncover areas of the map, just like Assassin's Creed. Basically what I'm trying to say is that this game wears its influences on its sleeves. I'm sure there's tons of other games that Breath of the Wild is inspired by. Tons of games I haven't played or might not even know. The graphics in Zelda are so good that the Switch has trouble running it smoothly in certain areas of the game like Rito Village and Korok Village. Whenever I uncover a new area in the game, I can't imagine how much time and effort they put into the game to make the game look so goddamn good. The world design is a combination of what you would see in a modern open world game, mixed with a slight bit of Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time's visuals can get pretty depressing at times, so I wouldn't say it completely takes influence from that game design-wise. The character design is diverse like crazy. I know they didn't really innovate that much with character design, they just took ideas from previous games, but that doesn't mean the characters don't look good. You got the Hylians, the Goron, the Rito, the Gerudo, and the Zora. The 5 major races in this game all look good. The Hylians have that super Tolkien vibe that really fits the fantasy aesthetic of the game with their super long ears. The Zora have this super elegant high class look to them. The Goron are the worst, but certainly not bad. I like the minimalistic approach they went with some of them. Their looks fits their personality in a way. The Rito are the closest thing to furries in the game, and I respect that. The Gerudo are my personal favorite, well, because they're sexy and I'm not afraid to admit that. I love laying my male gaze on them. I don't know why Link went with Mipha when Urbosa exists. He should have been like, "Hey shorty, I want to take a ride on your sand seal." I have no doubt that pickup line would have worked. The only character design that is arguably bad in the game are the enemies, but I'm a fanboy and still appreciate them in a guilty pleasure kind of way. Team Lino all day, by the way. The story in this game is like the most okay thing in the game. It's okay, I guess, I get the gist of it, but they weren't trying to make a groundbreaking story game like Final Fantasy VII or something. I feel the story is more there to help create a certain atmosphere the game is trying to accomplish. The story very much feels like a generic RPG, and Zelda is well known for its RPG-like aesthetics. And the story in this game really helps fulfill that aesthetic it's trying to portray. It reminds me of Dark Souls in that kind of way, with its very light and low-key style of storytelling. And yes, I compared the game to Dark Souls again. I should do a counter for every time I compare this game to another game. Dungeons are different in Breath of the Wild compared to the other Zelda games I've played. Shrines are basically smaller dungeons, but there are 120 of them, not counting the DLC. They're so much fun and there's so many of them to the point that I'm too lazy to tell you which ones were my favorite, cause I don't remember and it would be really time consuming to look into all of them. But basically, these dungeons require you to use your rune abilities, and they can vary from being really hard to really easy to really long to really short. Shrines, I feel, are the skeletal system of the game. Can't imagine what the games would be without them. The other types of dungeons in the games are the divine beasts, and they are badass. They're longer than most shrines, and you just feel like a genius when you complete them. I just love how interactive I got with this game, and I just didn't get that with the dungeons in Ocarina of Time. As I mentioned before, I use a guide for the majority of Ocarina of Time, and I felt like an idiot whenever I was in a dungeon. This game, not at all though. But anyways, if you like an adventure game with intermediate puzzles, that describes Breath of the Wild to a T. I love this game's gameplay. It's easily my favorite aspect of the game. It's a very easy game once you figure out how to play the game properly. I'm gonna break down the gameplay aspects in the game into a bunch of groups because I have a lot to say. The controls are almost perfect when it comes to how Link controls. He controls like butter in a good way. The only thing I didn't like was the fact that I would accidentally go into the crouching position when fighting a Lino and immediately die. Let's say you want to dodge to the left when you're sliding the joystick to the left. You can accidentally press L3 and the Lino immediately kills you because you can't hold your shield when you're crouching. It was annoying as hell, but it's very easy to handle if you put more awareness in what you're doing. It would have been cool if you could customize your controller layout in this game to prevent that. The sand seal controls are good, shield surfing also good, their motorcycle also good, but it's annoying that you get the best form of transportation so late in the game and you can only use it in certain areas. And it takes up fuel instead of recharging. Now let's talk about the bad controls. The horse controls are kinda bad. I feel like whatever I do, the horse always ends up shifting to the left or right at times whenever I'm going fast. The motion controls, which sometimes comes up when you're trying to do a puzzle, are also a nightmare and feel like shit whenever you're using them. It's one of the most annoying mechanics in the game, but sometimes it's so bad it's fun to control. I wondered if they made it annoying like that on purpose. Wouldn't be surprised. The battle system is like my favorite aspect of the gameplay. I love it so much. It's so Dark Souls light. It's very easy, I know. Once you know how to dodge and parry the game, it becomes a joke, but I'm a sucker for this style of gameplay. For example, the bosses. The first major boss I fought was Waterblight Ganon. He's easy AF if you know how to dodge his attacks to get a flurry rush and parry his laser at the end to kill him. Thunderblight was the hardest of the Divine Beast battles, and is the fight that made me understand why dodging can be better than parrying. Thanks, Urbosa. If you try parrying his lightning-based attacks, you get unarmed. There's always an easy workaround to problems you face fighting a boss. Windblight is a effing pushover. All you have to do is attack spam during his first phase and shoot him in the eye during his second phase to get him on the ground and get some damage in. I bested him on my first try. Fireblight, well, pretty much the same stuff I've been saying. Dodge and flurry rush is very obvious in slow sword attacks and parry his fireball to stagger him. I beat him first try too. The final boss, also a pushover to be honest, I beat it on my first try. He is a combination of all previous Ganons you fought before, and it's really generic but cool. He has a badass design though, like every variation of Ganon in this game, they look Soulsborne as F. The normal enemies in the game seem to have a tendency to be harder than the bosses. Let's say you're at a monster camp with one Moblin, Boklin, and Lizaflos, that's hard as F. You gotta be really good at crowd control in this game at times. There's multiple strategies I've used. Sometimes I would drop a weapon and attack with a lightning weapon, so the enemy would drop their weapon and I would pick up theirs and beat them down mercilessly. It's really fun. Honestly, Boklins, Lizaflos, and Moblins are easy unless they're silver/white and with a bunch of other enemies. The black ones are hard early game, of course, too, but the game only gets easier the more you know. Now, Linos, I don't care how to pronounce it, are always a slightly challenging fight regardless of color. And fighting them is like always fun. The first one I beat was the silver Lino in the Coliseum. I was so proud of myself. It took like 2.5 hours because you know they're the hardest enemy in the game. Then I went through the same experience with a Lino that was in the canyon area that had the Lino Crusher weapon. Shit was hard as F, but I was able to beat it. It was so much fun. The thing I loved about Linos is that depending on the weapon they're holding, the fight is going to be completely different. Like the sword Lino, you gotta stand some distance away when you dodge their main 3 swing sword attack chain, and you always have to dodge backwards. Then the Lino with the Crusher, you gotta get up all in their face and dodge to the side when they do their 3 swing attack chain. And the ones with lances, I usually didn't dodge their attacks, I just attacked when they were open and reacted to all their attacks. My second favorite enemy group in the game has to be the Guardians. Each one is different. Some are fun, some are really annoying. For example, the combat trials are really rewarding to do. One of the enemies you fight in them are the Guardian Scouts. It's the usual parry this, dodge that, rinse and repeat, but I'm mentally addicted to that style of gameplay. At the beginning of the game, the first Guardian you encounter is the Decayed Guardian, and I was scratching my head wondering how I'm supposed to take on that enemy so early in the game. Then I just thought maybe I can parry their laser, and it worked the first time. I was so mind blown by it. At that point I was like, this is gonna be a good game. The Guardian Crawlers are another easy but fun one. You just parry 3 times and you win. You gotta make sure you're standing in the right position for the parry and wait for that whoom sound that they make. The Guardian turret is always in an awkward spot to parry their laser, so I would always shoot them in the eye with an arrow and then wail on them and then rinse and repeat. Now the most annoying Guardian is easily the Skywatcher, because their laser is at an awkward angle to parry them correctly and they have a shit ton of health. What I would do to beat them is use stasis and shoot them in the eye with a bomb arrow until they lose one of their propellers. Then wail on them once they're on the ground. They're annoying because they require a lot of energy and resources to fight. The health could have been lower too, to be honest. The 3 other mini bosses I haven't mentioned yet are the Phoenixes, the Taluses, and the Mogdagas. Phoenixes are easy as hell once you upgrade stasis and you're able to stasis them and shoot them in the eye. I think I've only died to them really early in the game. The Taluses are usually fun to fight except for the ice variant. No matter what you do, you can't stop them from freezing you unless you upgrade that one armor set that causes you not to freeze. Every other Talus I like fighting. All you gotta do is shoot them on their weak point, hop on their back, wail on their weak point until they die. And then boom, you got some usually decent loot. The Mogdagas are annoying as hell. They feel like a waste of arrows whenever I fight them, and from what I know, usually arrows is like the most logical way to fight them. I'll never forget using 50 arrows on that Mogdaga King in the DLC. That shit pissed me off. Now here are the miscellaneous throwaway enemies that I don't have much to comment on. The Stell, I'm guessing, are a nice nod to Ocarina of Time. They're very easy to handle, except for the Stellenix maybe. His eye has too much health, but the overall fight is easy. The Choo-Choos are the one cute little enemy every Japanese RPG game needs. They remind me of the slimes from Dragon Quest. Some of them are annoying, the regular ones are whatever. The Octorocks can go F off, especially the rock ones in the volcano area. The Wizrobes are kinda fun to fight. I like to practice my bow and arrow accuracy when I fight them. The Peblips are another cute RPG-like enemy every JRPG game needs. They're fun to punch around. I didn't know you can pick them up and throw them until someone told me though. The Yiga, especially early game, are kinda annoying. They appear randomly like a Pokemon encounter. The Blade Masters are the fun ones, but the Foot Soldiers feel like a waste to fight that die in a few hits late game. I think that's it for the enemies. There's also a bunch of animals that can hurt you, but I wouldn't call them enemies. They certainly taste good though. My 2 most hated mechanics in this game is the raining system and the Sheikah sensor. It seems like whenever you're trying to climb it's raining or it starts to rain, and there isn't much you can do about it. Maybe wearing the climbing gear will prevent you from slipping. Nope, it doesn't. Not even if you upgrade it, it doesn't prevent you from slipping. How about going to sleep while it's raining and waiting for the next day? Maybe then the rain will stop. Nope. One day I slept like 3 times in a row and it was still raining. They really should have figured out a way to handle the rain so it doesn't get in your way while you're exploring or doing a quest. The climbing gear should have definitely had an anti-slip ability. Now the Sheikah sensor, that shit is annoying. It feels like it never works properly. I think if you're walking in the direction of whatever the Sheikah sensor is sensing, it starts to ring really fast. Whenever there was a shrine nearby and it was hidden, the Sheikah sensor never really helped me find it. I would have to go on YouTube and figure out where it was. And usually the shrine I always had trouble finding was like inside a mountain or in a cave or some shit. It was so annoying. Why couldn't the Sheikah sensor beep to the entrance of where the shrine was hidden? Then I could try and figure out how to get in or something. I certainly did a lot in my one playthrough of Breath of the Wild. but I certainly didn't 100% the game. I was definitely not about to collect all 800 Korok seeds. That would have been a long and painful experience, but I definitely did every shrine. The shrines were too much fun. Upgrading every set of armor in the game didn't seem that hard, but I decided against it because I was getting a bit fatigued from the game. The game is a bit too massive for me to want to do everything. Doing every quest was fun, but some quests were very bland and generic fetch quests that had me falling asleep with my controller in my hand. Some fetch quests were kinda fun and adorable at times though. A fetch quest isn't inherently bad. I love completing compendiums in games like in the Kingdom Hearts series, for example. I love completing and doing everything in Jiminy's Journal. In this game I couldn't get myself to complete the Hyrule compendium. One, because I didn't realize you had to take pictures of all the items and weapons in the game to complete the compendium until way later into the game, so I was like, F that. And my second reason for not completing it was, once again, I was fatigued. That's another issue I'm trying to get at with this game. There's a lot to do and you don't really want to do it all because the game is so long. The DLC is pretty great. I absolutely love doing the Korok trials, and in my opinion, they are the hardest thing in the game. It makes you start from scratch and makes you use your brain on how to figure out the best way to take down enemies. The Korok trials are very similar to another part of the game, Untitled Island. You have no gear and you're trying to activate the shrine by putting the balls in the socket with the resources you find on the island. The DLC takes good influence from that part of the game and it executes it even better. I'm not even mad that it was kind of redundant because it was a great part of the game. Not only were the Korok trials really fun, but the reward you get for completing is too great. The upgraded Master Sword is a beast. Those DLC quests where you're trying to find the armor was kinda lame. They were very fetch questy in a bad way and annoying to do on your own. I do like a lot of the armor designs though, but you can't upgrade any of the DLC armor the game rewards you with, which is kinda stupid. The Champion's Ballad is a pretty decent DLC. I was getting really tired of doing shrine related things and puzzles, so it wasn't my favorite out of the two DLCs. I did really like the boss fights though, but when the narrator is talking to you before the fight starts, he's completely lying out of his ass because he says the Ganon fights are unforgiving. There's nothing unforgiving about those Ganon fights. They were a cakewalk. I beat 3 of them my first try. So once you do all of the 4 obelisk thingies, you get one more final thing to do. You get basically another divine beast-like puzzle and a DLC exclusive boss. I was very pissed when I saw that there was another puzzle I had to do after finishing all those other puzzles in the DLC. I didn't pick up the game for a week because I was so not in the mood to play that part of the game. The puzzle itself, once I actually built up the energy to do it, was really fun. The monk boss was way too easy when he probably should have been the hardest boss in the game. I don't know what they were thinking with that fight. I beat it on my first try. At least you get a cool bike when you beat it though. Speaking of that bike, why does it run on fuel? Why can't it just recharge like the Master Sword? That made no sense to me. I probably sound like a broken record, I mentioned that before. Now let's talk about the regions. I found the first area of Breath of the Wild quite fun. It gave you a basic understanding of how to play the game, and I appreciate that. But there's some things the game doesn't tell you. I absolutely loved the first 4 shrines that explained how to use your rune abilities quite well. Exploring the beginning area itself felt so massive, little did I know the game was 14 times bigger. When I saw the map for the first time, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be a really big and long game. I wasn't too fond of figuring out you have to eat cooked peppers in order to traverse the mountains without freezing, mainly because the game doesn't tell you how to cook. I had to look it up. Getting the paraglide after finishing the 4 shrines certainly was a reward because you use it throughout the whole game, and it also feels like an accomplishment. Like any good starting area, it teaches you things. It teaches you how to activate the towers, how to increase your health and stamina, how to use your abilities, etc, etc. Dueling Peaks is one of the lamer regions in the game in my opinion. The mountain is beautiful to look at in the distance, but there isn't really any major areas there besides one. It took me like a century to find out there were 2 shrines on both twin mountains. I thought it was only one for the longest, then my Sheikah sensor went off. Of course, the main attraction of Dueling Peaks is the recurring Kakariko village, which is a very lively town in the game. I love that one side quest where someone steals Impa's orb artifact and you have to do other side quests to unlock that one. It's a fun one. It's cool that you can still fly with cuckoos even though they're obsolete due to paragliding. Impa is a generic character, I guess, but she gives you a few presents whenever you finish a main quest, if I remember correctly. I like how Impa is the introduction to the main quest of the game, very fitting for that to happen in Kakariko Village, a staple of the series. Lanayru is a great region. I really like traversing the swamp area of that part of the game, and the trail that leads to Zora's domain was also fun to traverse. Gotta love all those Lizaflos with thunder arrows you run into on your way to Zora. I'd also like to note that the red mane Lino that lives in the mountain range, I kicked his ass and got a metric shit ton of thunder arrows in that area he's in. There weren't too many notable areas in Lanayru though besides Zora's domain, which is the most aesthetically pleasing village in the game. Everything about it is pretty. It's so blue, like everywhere. Hateno is home to Mount Lanayru, which is where one of the best shrine quests in the game can be done. In my opinion, the Spring of Wisdom is the second best spring in the game. I swear that dragon is majestic. That river ravine area where Done Shrine is, I didn't stumble upon it until way later in the game. Breath of the Wild is one of those games where you just keep discovering new things. Hateno Village is Hateno Village. You can upgrade your runes there and do a bunch of quests. It's a pretty cool town, I guess. I will say I do like Pura as a character, personality-wise. I remember fighting my first Phoenix around Hateno by the shores and getting my ass handed. Then I came back a few weeks later and handed his ass to him. Gotta love it. I remember seeing that shrine in the middle of the Cul de Sea in the Hateno region and being absolutely stumped on how to get there. I was like, how do I get the boat to move there? Then I learned about the Korok leaves. I eventually reached the shrine and got my ass handed to me because it was a major test of strengths. Pun intended. Then, a few weeks later, I handed his ass to him. Gotta love it. Wasteland Tower is my favorite region in the entire game, dude. They really handled that area with care, and I'm usually one of those people who hate desert areas. Yes, you're kind of forced to use sand seals, which is annoying sometimes, but the area has a lot to offer. I love doing the Desert Labyrinth. It was the first maze I did. It's not confusing like at all. You just gotta find the shrine and it's really easy. You can even use the map to guide you to the middle or whatever. Some might say it being easy to traverse is a flaw. It is a maze after all, but I don't mind it because to me the place has some serious charm to it. Another shrine quest I loved in the Gerudo Wasteland were the 7 heroines. It was such a fun puzzle trying to find the shapes of the giant statues and pairing them with their respected spear. I think I might have used the guide for the last few though, don't hate me. The Mogulas are only found in Gerudo Desert, you already know how I feel about them. Unlocking Gerudo Wasteland was kind of a pain in the neck. I think I did it the hard way. I climbed all the way up the mountainous region to get to the tower. It was a lot of work, I could have just gone through the valley probably. Gerudo Town is second best area, okay? It feels the most alive. The design is just too great. I love the water system that's on the roofs of the town. It's kinda annoying that you still have to pose as a woman to get in even after all you did to stop Va Nautilus, but whatever. That quest where you had to carry the block of ice was kinda obnoxious, but I can tolerate it just because it's the Gerudo region. I really like how the Sheikah sensor doesn't work in the sandstorm weather. That was a nice touch. It made the technology in the game feel more realistic. Last but not least, the Yiga clan secret hideout probably gave me the most game overs in the game just because it's stealth. And I suck at stealth. It's pretty fun, but damn am I bad at not getting caught by those Yiga henchmen. FYI, Master Koga is the easiest boss ever. Central Hyrule. There are a metric shit ton of guardians in Central Hyrule, and I love it. If it wasn't for the guardians, it would be one of the lamer regions in the game. Want to climb the tower? Can't do that. You gotta parry some guardians first. Want to go to the ruins? Guardians. Shrines? You guessed it. There will be guardians. The best thing it has going for it is the Coliseum. I love that place, and as you probably know, the loot there gets better and better the more you progress through the game, and the Lionel there is fun as F to fight. Bottomless Swamp is a decent area. The enemies there are easy to deal with, even though I died there a bunch. The design of the place is also pretty cool. The Hyrule Ruins are an immediate mood change once you enter it compared to the rest of Central Hyrule. It feels very lifeless in a good way, which makes sense because they're ruins. The Akala region. This area kicks ass literally and figuratively. I remember getting past those guardian flyers at the tower were annoying as hell, and the rain kept making me slip. It was a really hard time in the game. I really like doing the Ratag Zumo shrine quest. Going around in that spiral, funny enough, makes me think of Uzumaki, the manga by Junji Ito. I liked how you had to give up your weapons and use your wit to reach the middle of the spiral, something that happens a few times in the game, and every time it happened it was always fun. Building Terry Town was a gigantic kind of fun fetch quest on crack. Searching for people with the same last name was kinda easy but tedious sometimes. I feel like building Terry Town was something you were supposed to do throughout the whole game, but I kinda just did it nearing the end of my playthrough. The Akala Labyrinth is another labyrinth, but this time there's a twist. At the bottom of the labyrinth, there's a bunch of Guardian Sentinels you have to parry, and there's a chest with some DLC armor in it. I really like that. The Akala Ancient Tech Lab was kind of useless to me. I only used it to make that one weapon you need in the side quest from the weapon expert kid in Hateno Village. Doing the little thing where you had to light the fire at the tech lab was just a repeat of what you did at Hateno Village, so that was whatever. The Zunak High Shrine was fun to paraglide to. I went from where you do the gut check challenge and glided my way to the skull's right eye. I thought I wasn't going to make it, but I did. While doing it, you get to witness the sheer beauty of the game from a bird's eye view. Torn Wetland is another pretty swamp-like area in the game, and last but not least, the Spring of Power is my least favorite out of the 3 springs in the game. The Shrine Quest wasn't as amazing as the other 2. The Lake Tower region. Lake Hylia is probably the biggest, most beautiful body of water I've ever seen in a video game. The way that dragon comes out of the water at night and the traditional sounding Chinese music plays blew me away. If you couldn't tell, the Spring of Courage Shrine Quest was my favorite out of the 3 Spring Shrine Quests, mainly because of the adventure you go through to stumble upon the Spring of Courage in Damel Forest. Those Lizaflo snipers at the ruins did not F around and were fun to take down. Other than that, there isn't many notable areas in the Lake Tower region, just Land Ryu. The Woodland region. This region is great. I probably sound like a broken record, but Great Hyrule Forest is one of the most interesting areas in the game. Entering Great Hyrule Forest for the first time was puzzling because you're trying to figure out how and where it leads to the middle. That's a good way to describe Great Hyrule Forest. It's puzzling. The shrine quests were pretty entertaining. I like the one where you're following the trees with the metal stones in it the most. Then I like the one where you have to fight your way through the forest with once again limited equipment. Then my least favorite was the one where you have to follow the little Korok kid because I kept getting caught. As I mentioned before, I'm not too good at stealth. Korok Forest is really pretty to look at even when the frame rates drop when you first enter the town. The Great Deku Tree is as grand and alive as he was in previous games. And I'm not trying to flex, but I pulled that Master Sword out my first try and I think I had 1 heart left. Yes, I'm trying to flex. It was so badass. I'm really glad the developers made Korok Forest Hetsu's permanent home because the way he would move around was annoying as hell in the beginning of the game. Woodland Tower is a really cool wet area in the game. It was easy as hell to traverse, but it was quite fun taking down enemies and kinda platforming in that area to get to the tower. The Forgotten Temple is such a cool ass area and it's quite hard if you're not saving after every guardian you take down. It was really fun trying to find the best position and parrying each guardian in those ruins and avoiding the other guardians while you're focusing on one. And lastly, but certainly not least, you have Thaiplo Ruins. This area stumped me. I was trying my hardest to figure out where the shrine was. I eventually figured it out, thankfully, but boy was I confused. I really thought fighting a Phoenix in the dark was going to be super hard, but it was quite bearable. It was a fight for sure and a nice prerequisite to unlocking the shrine. The Ridgeland region. I remember Ridgeland Towers having whiz robes, and they were a pain in the ass at the time to attack in a wet area like that. My sniping skills weren't as refined yet mid-game. Ridgeland Tower is one of the lamer areas in the game as a whole though. The Thoyasha Shrine quest is a very badass shrine quest that takes pretty much the whole game to do, but the reward wasn't anything amazing and very forgettable. I mean, you have to do every divine beast, and I don't even remember what I got in return when I went into the shrine and completed it, so yeah. Satori Mountain is home to the Lord of the Mountain, which is a really cool beast, but kind of does absolutely nothing. It's the best mount in the game, but you can't register him as a horse, which is the first thing I did when I tamed him. At least he looks majestic, I guess. And that's pretty much it for the Ridgeland region. Gerudo Highlands. This is the worst area in the game. I think we can all agree this area is seriously underdeveloped. There's not much to do here besides do the shrines and fight the Linos that are like everywhere in that part of Hyrule. I can't remember anything notable besides the 8th Gerudo Heroine side quest being kinda interesting. Actually, I do remember. There's that one shrine with the lightning emblem on the side of the mountain being kind of confusing. I had to look up what you're supposed to do. You gotta shoot a lightning arrow at the thing if I remember correctly during a certain time of day, right? Out of the 2 snow areas in the game, I would take the Heber region any day. The Farron Tower region. This very big part of the game had many diverse visuals in the game. Like deadass, you got Lurin Village, which is such a pretty town. I remember stumbling upon it for the first time and I was like, are the characters here Hawaiian, Samoan, or Tongan? I loved exploring the crescent-shaped peninsula for the first time. It's such a beauty, even when it's raining. Eventide Island is the first area in the game where I had to give up my inventory and start from scratch. Doing that for the first time was a serious test of skill and a really amazing moment in the game. I died a few times, I'm not afraid to admit. The 3 Giant Brothers is another shrine quest I enjoyed doing. It was easy, but it was fun trying to figure out what I was supposed to do in that quest. The Farron Jungle is a tropical jungle and it's absolutely eye candy. I remember there being a shrine covered by a waterfall and the Sheikah sensor was going off and I was wondering where that shit was. I completely forgot that the Zora armor waterfall swimming ability was a thing. It's so useless in like every other region, I basically rediscovered it in the Farron region. The Heber region is massive as hell and is a way better snow region than the Highlands as I mentioned before. It's just fun as hell to explore and I think there's 12 shrines in that area, which is probably the most in one region. This is the first area in the game when I started to utilize the shield surfing mechanic, which is a really fun mechanic. The third and last labyrinth is in this region, and well, it's like all the other labyrinths is. It's fun but redundant, my least favorite out of the 3 to be honest. I remember there being 2 shrines where you had to hit the door with a rolling snowball. That shit I wouldn't have guessed on my own. There was another shrine where you could see it in like this crack, but the entrance was hidden and you had to use the wind pillars to glide into the secret entrance. It was mad fun. There was another shrine that was covered up by this rock formation and it was on this island surrounded by ice cold water, and I just swam into that shit like a G regardless of all the hearts I had. It wasn't the intended way to do it that way, but I did it that way. But yeah, the Heber region is valid. The Tabantha region. Tabantha is short and sweet just like your mother likes it. It's home to the best looking divine beast design wise, and it's also home to the 3rd best town in the game, Rito Village. It's really cool how Rito was designed. It's more vertically designed than horizontally, which is nice. I love going up and down those steps in Rito Village. That shrine quest where you have to help the little singing Rito girls feels impossible without a guide. It was a fun side quest though. I remember climbing that island on top of the lake and wondering if I would get any good loot. The answer was nope, no good loot, just a Korok trial. Ah, the Elden region. I'm not even going to make the joke. You probably get the joke without even me saying it. The Elden area feels so alive, it's crazy. I remember looking at a map of the Elden area before I unlocked it, and I was trying to figure out what was going on that part of the map. Little did I know it was lava. Having to get out of your way and getting the fireproof elixir was kind of annoying just to progress through the story. I really like the fact that the hot springs can heal you. I never really used it to its best ability, but it's still a pretty handy idea. Goron City is a cool looking town. I'm not really a sucker for fire areas, but the developers killed the entire Death Mountain area. Eldin is home to the worst divine beast though. The puzzle is still fun, don't get me wrong, it's just not the best beast design wise. The gut check challenge was so easy it's not even funny. I heard it's also a really good way to farm money, which I didn't utilize because I never needed to farm money at all in this game. This area also had a bunch of shrines, so it gets extra points for being big. I remember doing the Shoraha shrine and I was completely oblivious to getting to that shrine the intended way. What I did was I glided my way to the island instead of using the minecart. Anyways, the Elden region is great, and that's about it for the regions of this game. Hyrule Castle. It was really fun exploring that area the first time, but it also was a bit overwhelming and it felt like I didn't put a dent into that area. The guardians there get kind of annoying to deal with because they are so far away from you, making them kind of difficult to parry time correctly. Also, you gotta love the fact that you can just climb over and around those little trap rooms, completely defeating the purpose. Hyrule Castle isn't the worst final area I have experienced in a game, but it isn't the best either. Speaking of Hyrule Castle, the music is, well, kind of lackluster. I feel like it worsened the more I heard it. I think the music in Hyrule Castle could have used like a way better song to make it more listenable, or maybe 2 more songs depending what part of the castle you're in to make the area feel less samey and boring. The music in Breath of the Wild as a whole is pretty good. My favorite theme in the entire game is the field battle theme, which starts off slow and builds up to a really amazing piece of music. Funny how you hear the field battle theme way more than you hear the Hyrule Castle theme, and I find myself way more fatigued listening to the Hyrule Castle theme than the field battle theme. Koga's battle theme is whatever. It's a very stereotypical, traditional, Asian sounding piece of music. Don't hate it, but it's just there. Kakariko Village theme is beautiful, somber, peaceful, and it seriously reminds me of something from Avatar: The Last Airbender. 10 out of 10. The shrine music really makes you invested in figuring out how to solve the puzzle in the shrine you're in. At least for me. I absolutely love doing a Korok puzzle and the field music just randomly starts playing. I also love the subtle differences of the night version. I always thought the field music was like in sync with what you were trying to solve, but I don't think that's how it works. Like, let's say you found a clue. To me, it felt like the music would play a note or something after you found that clue. The shrine battle theme is decently fun. I'm usually too busy kicking Guardian ass when that song is playing. The horse riding music makes the controls of the horse actually bearable. It has such a pleasant lead melody, and the beautiful stringed instrumentation almost makes me cry. The nighttime theme is also great for the same reasons really. The Talus and Helix theme exists, and I wouldn't be mad if they didn't exist. Rito Village theme is another phenomenal village theme. Gotta love that introduction. Now Goron City theme is kind of vapid. I don't know what they were thinking, but they did kind of get the vibe right of the Goron people with that track. It sounds like them. The night version is a bit easier on the ears. Jeez, Zora's Domain is insanely euphoric. I don't get tired of hearing the music there. And what's even more impressive is the night theme is just as good. Serious vaporwave vibes on both of those songs. Gerudo Town music is good as well. The night theme is a bit better. I don't know if that instrument is a sitar or something, but damn, it be hitting the right spots in my ear canals. The Ancient Tech Laboratory music is repetitive nonsense. Yiga Clan hideout music kinda slaps. The cave theme be hitting too good when you're in the snowy mountain. Mount Hylia just puts you at rest when you're up there and that beautiful track starts playing. Colosseum Ruins is another great one that you don't hear that often, if I remember correctly. PvP, you just got fireproof armor and you're exploring Death Mountain, and this jam comes on. Let's speed things up. Kara Kara Bazaar, good. Gerudo Canyon, good. Great Fairy Fountain, classic. Flight Range, good. I really like how the different variations of Terrytown resemble the 4 major towns of the game. Hateno Lab, way better than the Akala Lab. Kilton's shop music be hella spooky. Hateno Village is fun to listen to. Why is the song 10 minutes long though? It's absurdly longer than like every other village track. The Great Deku Tree is another fantastic one you don't hear much in the game, unfortunately. Lon Lon Ranch is a great remix, rendition, or whatever of a classic. Northmine is cute. Observation Post is another good one, but I completely forgot where it plays in the game. Clearly someplace in the Gerudo Desert based off of how it sounds. The Sheikah Tower activated fanfare is going to be something so iconic years from now, probably. Just how the treasure chest opening music in Ocarina is, it already is iconic. The game is 7 years old. The Sheikah Tower music is also good, but not up there with the activation fanfare in my opinion. Impa's theme is somewhere in the middle if you were to rank every track. Lurin Village wins the Grammy for most tropical sounding piece in the game. You gotta love those steel drums. The Maze Forest music really makes you get lost and escape into the maze, which means it does its job. Purified Dragon is a real work of art. When you first hear it, you're blown away by what you're experiencing, which I've mentioned previously, I think. Corrupted Dragon is such a badass revision of the prior track mentioned. Love it. Stationary Guardian slaps, especially like the first 5 seconds. 10,000 Year Legend has so many layers and dimensions. One of the most impressive songs from a technical standpoint. The Divine Beast Shrine music are kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are good, some are just meh. I will say every track has like a science fiction theme going on, which I appreciate. Now the Ganon Battle Blight themes, all of those slap. There's not much variation in my opinion, I will say, but they're still enjoyable regardless. The best parts are in each variation of the song. It felt so rewarding hearing the Divine Beast Shrike play while the Divine Beast Shrike. Cutting down the final boss's life bar to half was a nice gift for playing the game and doing the Divine Beast dungeons. Great little song. I'm scratching my head while writing this and listening to the OST, but I don't remember Dark Beast Ganon having 3 different songs for his final form. I guess each song just bleeds into the next one playing the game. Each song is pretty decent, I will say. Calamity Ganon Phase 1 and 2 will put some hair on your chest when you hear it. Very badass final boss music. Not as badass as Dancing Mad from Final Fantasy VI or What I'm Made Of from Sonic Heroes, but so pretty kick-ass. Ganon Vanquish is a musical embodiment of happy ending. It makes me happy that I randomly decided to pick up this game. So the soundtrack for Breath of the Wild is amazing, and I'm proud to have heard it, and I'm proud to have discussed it on my channel as a music-based YouTuber. I really love how orchestral and traditionally composed everything sounds, very typical for a game of this style, but not in a bad way. I want to give this soundtrack an I definitely didn't sit through every track of the soundtrack out of 10, which means I won't be scoring this soundtrack. It doesn't need a score. Now let's talk about the things I forgot to mention and other miscellaneous stuff. I promise the video is almost over, just a few more minutes. So, one thing I really found amazing about Breath of the Wild is that it's truly a non-linear game. Technically speaking, there's nothing stopping you from going right into Hyrule Castle at the beginning of the game if you really wanted to. You'd probably get your ass kicked, but you can do it. Such a great aspect of the game. I feel another aspect of the game that really shows its non-linearity is the fact that you unlock all your rune abilities at the starting area, which really stresses the freedom to do whatever you want in this game. Your rune abilities give you the ability to manipulate the world around you so freely, and I love that about them. Magnesis is definitely my favorite, then Stasis, then Cyronus, then the bombs, and the camera last. Once again, this game really shows off its sandbox style influences with the aspects I mentioned before. I think I've made myself clear multiple times that this game certainly isn't an RPG, but is rather RPG-like. The way you progress in this game isn't enough to call it an RPG. The way characters level up in a typical RPG isn't how leveling up works in this game. The main way Link gets stronger is by health and stamina. The more you increase stamina, the more you can climb, swim, glide, etc. And the more health Link has, the less you get your ass kicked. I love the simplicity of the leveling system. It doesn't need to be a complex stat system like Fire Emblem in order to be a good game. Simple isn't always bad, as I've mentioned before, and that's also the reason why I keep calling this game RPG Light. It's simple. Other ways you see progress in the game is by leveling up armor And of course, the enemies scale over time in the game. A red bokolin in one area might become silver near the end of the game. I think they handled the evolution of progress quite well in this game. The cooking system is another thing I didn't really mention completely in the video for some reason. It's dope. It's so simple to use, it's really hard to mess up, and you don't really need a guide most of the time to make something useful once you know the basics. I mentioned earlier that I needed to use a guide to figure out how to cook in general, but once you figure that out, it's smooth sailing. The 2 golden rules I followed are: don't cook monster parts with food, that'll make dubious food, and read the description of the item you're cooking with. It tells you what it does when you cook with it. For example, if you want to make something to boost stamina, take a stamina mushroom and mix it with a piece of meat or fruit, and boom, you just made a stamina boosting meal. It's that simple. Weapons and armor were handled quite well in this game. Of course, weapons break, and it seems like people either love that or hate it. I love it because it makes you play smart as if you're playing a survival horror game. Since everything breaks, it doesn't make much sense to use your good weapons on weak enemies. You gotta save them for the gold or silver enemies, and use your weaker weapons for the lower level enemies. I think the reason why people don't like weapons breaking is because you can't rely on certain weapons besides the Master Sword to get you through the game. You have to always use different weapons and therefore different strategies to overcome difficult combat-based challenges in the game, which I like. I feel if weapons didn't break, the game would certainly be a joke, and every Lionel would be a cakewalk if you had a Lino Crusher and knew how to do Flurry Rush. Now, as opposed to weapons, armor doesn't break, which is good, but you have to upgrade them to make them better, which I feel is a trade-off for them not breaking. Armor in this game works really good. There's different ones for different circumstances. If it's hot out, you have heat-proof armor. If you want to climb better, there's an armor for that, etc. It doesn't really reinvent the wheel. This has been in many games before Breath of the Wild, but it was executed quite well. And I've said before, Breath of the Wild is a game that takes things from other games. It wears its influences on its sleeves with style. My favorite armor set is the Barbarian armor. Jesus, is it amazing. It makes every other armor useless since it buffs attack and defense. The 4 champion abilities are well busted and make the game 10 times easier. And I don't have a problem with that because in my opinion the Divine Beasts are a big enough challenge to achieve such an ability. Mipha's Grace is my favorite and is the obvious best. Sometimes I disable it cause it's just so good. The shit heals you back to full health when you die. Once you get that, the game is a joke. One could argue that it does the same job as going into the menu and eating food, but I feel like it makes it more seamless, and sometimes I be forgetting that I can do that. Urbosa's Fury is god tier, especially when you're doing the swinging circle attack when you're charging it up. It creates so much DPS it's ridiculous, and it makes the enemies drop their weapons immediately. Revali's Gale makes climbing obsolete once you get it. You love to see it, especially in the rain. The Rook's protection kinda sucks, but not really. I always kept it disabled because it always felt like a waste, cause it's active whenever your shield is up, which means it will go off even when you're not intentionally trying to use it. Let's say you want to parry a Guardian. Oops, you missed. Thorax protection went off instead. My least favorite. Also, can't forget the fact that you can upgrade all of them in the DLC, making them infinitely better and lowering their recharge rate. So Breath of the Wild definitely left a mark on me. This game will be forever remembered in my head even if I don't replay it. Some say this game is generic. To me, it's a culmination of ideas that are from other open world style, character action, RPG-like video games, and it takes those ideas with charm and does its own twist with it. One criticism this game gets like a lot is that it completely changed what Zelda is in order to appeal to a new audience by abandoning traditional Zelda-style gameplay. Gone are the days of traditional Zelda dungeons where you have to use your wit and items to solve the dungeon. They were replaced with much simpler but still puzzling shrines and divine beasts. Gone are the days of Zelda being an open linear game. It's now a hypermassive open world where you can do and start anywhere. Gone are the days where you have to figure out where to go by yourself. Just follow what the mission says in the menu. I get where the OG fans are coming from when they say that they changed too much, but to me personally, I feel I can't speak on it because I haven't played much Zelda besides Breath of the Wild and Ocarina. As a casual and new Zelda fan, I feel like my opinion can't really be taken seriously in a hardcore perspective because I'm so new to the series. If I had played more games in the series, my opinion could be taken more seriously as a whole, but I'm just a filthy casual new Zelda fan. There's been so many instances of this happening. God of War really changed quite a bit when they rebooted it. Some people loved it, some people hated it. Another example that hits close to home is Final Fantasy 15. Boy, do I hate that game as a hardcore Final Fantasy fan. It's pretty much the same situation as Breath of the Wild. When you boot up 15, it literally says it's a Final Fantasy game for first-timers. I hated the game because of how much of a departure it was to the series and how many flaws it had in general. My opinion on 15 makes me get where Zelda fans are coming from when they say Breath of the Wild is bad. I really do get it, but I still enjoyed the game thoroughly, and personally I still feel like I'm playing a Zelda game when I play Breath of the Wild. It still has the essence of Zelda in my opinion, and that's what matters the most when it comes to a sequel in a series that drastically decides to change things up. This game is a great game, and I can't help but to stress it over and over again. If someone said they didn't find any enjoyment out of it at all, I would call them a liar. To me, even though this isn't my first Zelda game, it feels like a glorious introduction to the Zelda series for me, because Ocarina of Time wasn't really that glorious to me, unfortunately, as I've said before in this video. Who knows, maybe one day I'll understand Ocarina. Breath of the Wild has led me wondering what other Zelda games are like, and I will definitely get back to this series in the near future. The ones that pique my interest the most are Tears of the Kingdom, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Echoes of Wisdom. I'm interested in playing all of those games for different reasons. That just goes to show you how versatile and different Zelda games are. At least I think. I've only played 2 of the games in the series. What do I know? Anyways, concluding, Breath of the Wild is certainly an essential game any serious gamer should play. You should play it just to form an opinion on it, even if you don't think you'll like it. It's that important. It's just one of those games that's larger than life, and that's one of the many things I find respectable about it. And you have reached the end of my video. I hope it was an enjoyable experience. I have been working on this video for more than a year. There have been delays and periods of laziness while making this video, but it is finally out. It's the reason why I haven't made videos on a consistent basis how I used to. Hopefully I get back to the groove of things now that it's finally done. My hair has been like 3 different colors during the duration of making this video. If you guys like this video, don't be afraid to like, comment, and subscribe. It's been Quiet Does Music. See you guys later.